And good afternoon, everyone, to our open lab session on online education this afternoon, where we'll be taking general questions on just about anything, any topic dealing with online education, Canvas, Zoom, whatever you have questions about. All right, I'm Dave Giberson. Those of you who may not have met me before, I'm a retired instructional design coordinator from Online Learning Pathways at the district, and they've asked me to come back and help with these training sessions. So I was the senior instructional designer for about 10 years at Online Learning Pathways before I retired. So I know some of this. I won't claim to know everything. And if you do manage to stump the chump, I will congratulate you, and then I'll get back to you with the answer if I don't have it ready and waiting. So I think I saw a question already go into the chat tool. I'll take that one first. How do I add a substitute or a colleague to my Canvas course in case I'm out on an emergency or whatever? All right, let's go take a look at Canvas. And I'm trying something new here today. Let me know if you have any trouble seeing or hearing anything today, but I'm going to get myself out of the way here and go to Canvas. And let me just pick a Canvas course here. I'm going to pin that video so I can see how well this is working here. Okay, to add someone to your course, and you do have that capability.
Hey, Dave, can you make it bigger?
Yeah, I believe I can. That help?
Kind of. There we go. Never mind. It was on my side. I had to click speaker view.
Ah, that will help. But there's nothing wrong with zooming the web browser a little bit. That's a trick you can use in Zoom. Control plus will expand the screen, and Control minus will zoom out. All right, so you're going to go to your people link in your course menu, and you should have an add people button right there.
Where is that? I don't see that. I don't see the add people. Where was that?
In your people your roster list.
Oh, add people.
It is there?
Yes.
Oh, good. Right, because sometimes settings get changed that I'm not aware of. So I want to make sure everybody still have that button. You certainly should. When you click add people, you get an option to add individuals to your course. You can add by either email address, login ID, or student information system ID, which in our case are the same thing. So what you'll need to effectively add someone to your course is you'll need to have their PeopleSoft user or their PeopleSoft employee ID, the 10-digit number. You then enter that 10-digit number into the box below the options there. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to use a different one here. That is a test user that I have in the system that I don't think is already in this course. Oh, wait a minute. I bet this one is already in this course. Just a second. Let me try this. Oh, let's see. Let me go back and look and see who all's in here. Yep, that one's already in this one. Let's see, test one, all those students are in there too. Oh, yeah, I think there's one that let me just take that one out and I'll put him back in. Remove from course. Okay. Now I can put him back in. Add people, login ID, 10-digit PeopleSoft ID. I'm going to use my test user, which only has a 7-digit ID. And you can pick the role that you want them to have in the course. Usually either student or teacher or TA. In this case, let's say we want this person to be a TA. And then just click next. It should, if that person has an account on our Canvas system, you should see a screen like this, which says the following users are ready to be added to the course. And it'll identify the person by name, login ID, and of course the institution will always be the San Diego Community College District. If the person does not show up at this point, that's all you can do yourself, because that person does not have an account on our Canvas system in that event. And in that event, you'll need to get in touch with one of the folks at Online Learning Pathways or with me and ask them to create an account for that person in the Canvas system and then add them to your course with the desired role. The reason that some employees would not have a Canvas account is that only faculty with active teaching assignments have active accounts in Canvas. And of course, all students who are currently or have recently been registered in a course at the district will also have active Canvas accounts. But folks who are not actively teaching, but who may have taught in the past or who have particular knowledge that you need as associates in your course, may need to have an account created for them in Canvas, and we're happy to do that. And once this screen comes up, to finish the process, you just click Add Users, and that person will appear in your roster, in your list of people. Oops, getting a little background noise. Let me mute that. You can unmute yourselves at any time. And they'll show up as pending. The first time they log in to Canvas, they'll see a message at the top of the screen that says that you've been invited to such and such a course. Click here to accept. And once they do that, then that pending notation will go away. But they have access right now. All they have to do is go in and accept the invitation. Did that answer your question, Larry? Larry, it looks like you're muted. Sorry about that. I muted everybody a second ago. I believe I gave everyone the capability to unmute themselves. Yes, I did.
There you are. Yay! By the way, I want to yay! Shout out to Randy. I didn't know you were still kicking around out there, Randy. Never mind. How's things in Escondido? Just a short, brief one. The rights that a TA has versus the rights that a student, a TA, that kind of thing. Is there any particular rights that I should be worried about? I mean, if I get a teacher, I want the teacher to have all rights. I have to trust somebody to do that. But
yeah, obviously the teacher has the same rights that you do.
Right.
The TA has most of the same rights you do, but they can't make someone else an instructor.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I don't think they can add people to the course either. But basically, they see your grade book, they can grade, they can do just about anything you can do. A student, of course, has no access to any of the management tools in the course, can't, except with limited exceptions, add content or anything. You know, they can post to a discussion, but they can't add content to the course. They can't add items to modules or anything like that. And they can't see anybody else's grades. The TA, of course, can see everyone's grades. So the general practice is to give someone who you want to be in your course, but not to have quite all of the capabilities that you do, is to make them a TA.
Yeah, I ended up doing that with my, I had an embedded tutor last semester. So that was good. Good. Thank you very much.
Sometimes tutors need student access. Sometimes they need TA access. Remember, they will have access to the grade book. So if it's, you know, you want to be, obviously want to be careful with that.
Which is why I'm doing my grades on a third party. But
though remember, about the only way you can legally post your grades for your students is through Canvas.
Yeah, mine is double, triple lockdown. It's legal. I made sure of that. So thank you.
You bet. All righty. How about another question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Please explain to me if students' emails are added automatically to Zoom sessions or not, or I have to manually put all the emails of my students as participants for the Zoom meeting.
When your students enter a Zoom meeting, they're asked for their email, but they don't have to provide it. You should have, of course, email addresses for all your students in your PeopleSoft roster and your portal roster.
Right, but the question is, if when I set up a Zoom meeting, do I invite all my students manually by copying the email addresses, or as soon as I schedule a Zoom meeting, all of them are going to be getting those links and invitations to the meeting?
No, you have to provide that link to your students. Let me ask this: are you using the Confer Zoom app in Canvas?
This is what I registered for today. I have a very limited experience with using Zoom, just personal use. And now when I have to teach, I registered, I got this confirmed Zoom registration going, but I didn't have a chance to use it yet.
Okay, that answers that. Thank you. The easiest way to give your students access to your Zoom meetings is to use your Zoom personal meeting room, whose link never changes. Like today, when you joined my meeting, you probably clicked on a link that came to you in an email from Mary Kingsley, right? That's my personal meeting room join link for Zoom. And it's always the same. So if you have an older email or something like that, you can go back. You can, if you find an old email, the link would still be the same. And that is that guards against the possibility of your students ending up in one Zoom meeting room and you ending up in another, which is the #1 point of failure for Zoom. It's about the only way that I've ever seen Zoom really crash and burn. And it's happened to me too, where I've been in one meeting room and my attendees, or students have been in another.
Me too.
So the way you can avoid that, let me illustrate what I'm talking about here, by going to the Zoom website at zoom.us. Let me get myself out of the way. and I'll sign in.
Share your screen, Dave.
I am.
You are?
No,
Well, my screen video
Oh, there we go.
is, yeah, if you go to speaker view, you'll be able to see my screen.
Okay, got it.
All right, good. Thanks for asking.
Okay.
All right, and I'll sign in to Zoom. I'm using a different technology today as a test.
Oh, okay, got it.
I can bring myself in and out. Like
Yeah, I was late. I'm sorry.
All right. On your Zoom, these are your Zoom account management screens. Again, at zoom.us. And oops, I'm logged in as the wrong person. Let me do that again. Sorry. That's more like it. Okay. When you come into your Zoom management screen, sorry about that pop-up there, irritating JavaScript, you'll be taken to your meetings link in your management screens. And there you'll find a link to your personal meeting room. If you click on that link, you will see, among other things, your personal meeting ID, the 10-digit number that identifies your Zoom room, and your invite link. Mine has been customized. Yours, instead of having letters here, will probably have numbers at the end here. That's fine, works just the same. The customization is more of a vanity thing than anything else. Those are the two bits of information that your students need in order to get into your Zoom meetings. Actually, they just need one or the other. The easiest way to get them in is to provide them with the invite link, the join link. And since this is my personal meeting room, this never changes. So your students are unlikely to, say, use an old email or an old link and end up in the wrong room. Full disclosure, this does make it slightly more likely that at some point in time, someone might enter your meeting room who is not supposed to be there and try to disrupt your meeting, something called Zoom bombing. It's something that's made a lot of news lately. I will tell you, however, that in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Zoom meetings that I have held over the years, I've had that happen to me exactly once. And my personal meeting link has been spread all over creation. So it's a very rare sort of thing to happen. It's much more common to have your students end up in the wrong meeting room. So of the two risks, I'd rather take the chance that somebody might break in at some point. And there are very easy strategies to minimize any problems they might cause. So this is the way I do business anyway. I always use my personal meeting room link. So all you have to do is get that link to your students, and they have to know when to use it, when to come into, when your meeting is going to be. You can do that by just emailing that information to them, or sending that as putting that as an announcement in your Canvas course. Or you can put a link you can put that join link into Canvas as an external URL link in a module, or you can even put it in a link in your course menu. And then the students of course, need a schedule. They need to know when your Zoom meetings are. You can do that by posting a schedule in Canvas, or you can simply send out emails or announcements at some point before the meeting and say, well, we're having a meeting today at 3 o'clock and so and so. So there's a variety of ways you can provide that information to your students. But however you choose to do so, if you always use your personal meeting room link, they'll always know how to get in. Do you have more questions about that? Because that's a very important idea.
Yeah, I do.
Please.
Can we get someone to check it to see if we did it correctly before we, what is it? Before we, what do we do to it after we get it all prepared? We publish it, right?
Before you publish your course.
Right. Can we get someone to like overlook it?
You mean the course as a whole or the Zoom meeting link in particular?
The Canvas course inside the
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. You can just send me an email and ask for a one-on-one meeting, and we'll sit there and we'll go through your course and take a look at it.
Oh, okay, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
You bet, and that's of course available to anyone who would like that.
All
right. Let's see. Did I answer the question about providing that information to your students for your Zoom meetings?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. And I am going to have one more question. If you can do it now or later.
No, go ahead.
I would appreciate it if you go with me over the recommended Zoom settings for, for teaching. It's my first time to teach online, and I would greatly appreciate any kind of guidance on that.
Well, I can show you what I use, and you can, of course, make your own decisions about that.
Yeah, please.
That's where we are right here in my Zoom meeting or Zoom account management screens. And your Zoom settings are primarily under this settings link here in the menu. And we don't have to go through them all because in most cases the default settings are fine. There are a few things we might talk about, however. We'll go first to meeting settings. The Zoom waiting room is something you can use to minimize the possibility of someone other than one of your students accessing your meeting. It's basically just like a green room, a waiting room, where the students go in and they can't get into the actual meeting until you put them in, until you okay them. And you can okay them en masse and let everybody who's in the waiting room in if it's appropriate, but you can scan through the list of people who are there first. And if there's somebody there you don't recognize, you can keep them out. I've never used it, quite frankly. I don't like to put an extra impediment in front of the people who are trying to get into my Zoom meetings, but it is an option that you have, and especially if you should start having someone trying to break into your meetings or something, it's an easy fix for that. My problem with the waiting room is that people come in and out of my meetings all the time, and I don't want to have to stop multiple times to let someone in who's come late. I just don't want that hassle, and I don't want them to have to wait to get in. So I don't like it much, but that it is an option for you. So I don't turn that on.
Dave, to answer someone who's done this, is that it's good to have it so that your students can just log in and be there talking, just like we can talk before you begin the class. However, I had a student who, for some reason, was in my waiting, well, she had logged in and it was a day that we weren't supposed to be meeting. And she was like really worried. And so that made me wonder, does that mean that because I have this where students can meet before I start a class, they can be meeting on their own with my personal Zoom meeting
Yes.
ID?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can view that as a problem or as a value added benefit. It just depends on your point of view.
Like if they're
Yeah,
working
your students can use, well, let me give some context to this. That's a setting I'm going to talk about here in a minute, as a matter of fact. If you set a passcode, which you can do, students have, that's another security measure. You can set a password on your meeting and provide the password to your students in whichever way you decide. And that will increase security. Of course, it means that if somebody forgets the password, they can't get in. And you'll get emails and phone calls and things like that. Again, depends on your comfort level. If you do require a meeting password, you can embed that passcode in the invite link so that people don't have to remember a separate password. They just have to have the link with the password embedded. But how that gives you a lot more security, I'm not real sure. It would prevent somebody who had an old link from getting in. But my experience is that usually the people it prevents from getting in are the ones that you want to have in there. So, okay. When you schedule a meeting, do you want your host video on automatically, or do you want to have to turn it on? And the same with participant video. I like to have them both on. The whole point is to meet and see one another. If they have a webcam, I'd like to see them. They can always turn it off if they like. How can they, and the default, I'm not going to worry about that. That's the default. Here's what Kathy was talking about. There is a setting called Join Before Host that you can activate, which will allow your attendees to enter your meeting room before you get there. So if you're a minute late, you're running down the hall trying to get to your Zoom meeting, and people start trying to enter it, rather than getting a box that pops up that says, please wait for your host to start the meeting, they'll be able to go in, they'll be able to talk to one another, just like they could in a classroom if you were a minute or two behind schedule. And they can sit there and talk to one another and catch up. As some of you saw today, my Zoom room is set up that way so that people can come in at any time and wait for me without having to just stare at that little box on the screen. They can talk to one another. I like that. That's a feature I'm very much fond of. Though, as Kathy pointed out, that also means that if the people who have that link can go in and get into your personal meeting room at any time. And if somebody else is there, they can talk with them and so on. But I like to do that for folks. It doesn't harm anything. And it can be a value-added benefit to students, particularly those that are not maybe savvy enough to create their own free Zoom accounts, which they can do. That's a link that they can use to just get in and talk to one another. They can do homework sessions and things like that. They even have the right to share their screens with one another and all that. Is there potential for abuse there? Yeah, there is, but I mean, there is if students meet on their own outside of class physically as well. So I don't see that there's a great deal of danger. I've never had anyone complain about it. And it does provide a value-added benefit for your students to set that link on. And by the way, just to turn these on, all you have to do is just click the little icon there. Blue, bright blue, with the white circle to the right is on for these settings. there is one other thing you have to do in order to make this work. In fact, there's a little bit of a gotcha on that. It may not work right away. If you don't go to your meetings tab and go to your personal meeting room and scroll down to the bottom of the screen and click edit this meeting, which is your personal meeting room. Make sure that this option, enable join before host, is checked here as well as in the settings, assuming you're using your personal meeting room. Otherwise, it won't work. And you end up having to people who can't get in. Also, changes like that in Zoom often take a few minutes to an hour or two to take. The Zoom's has this tremendous distributed network of servers, and these changes have to percolate through their farm of control servers before the feature change becomes effective. So something like this may take a little while to change if you make changes. All right, go back to settings. Let's see what else here. Again, we're not going to go through every one of these. If you want to use your personal meeting ID, you need to make sure that your personal meeting ID is enabled. I believe that's the default, is to have that on, but you probably want to check that. Also, it's advisable to set these two settings on. Use personal meeting ID when scheduling a meeting, and use personal meeting ID when starting an instant meeting. An instant meeting is one where you say, click and let's meet now. Start a meeting right now, rather than scheduling it in advance. That's all I ever do. When I start a meeting, I start it as a so-called instant meeting. And I want to make sure whenever I do that, I am using my personal meeting room. So as you see, I have both of these settings on. So no matter how you start a meeting, if you have those two on, you will be in your personal meeting room. There is an exception to that, however. If you use the Confer Zoom app in Canvas, which you find under the, let's see, I think I have, yeah, there it is, in your course menu in Canvas. That's a convenience that allows you to start and schedule Zoom meetings in Canvas. It's a little bit streamlined in that, or it streamlines your task a little bit, but that app is set up so that you can't use your personal meeting room. It forces each new meeting to have a randomly generated meeting ID and meeting invite link, which is okay as long as your students also use the app to join your meetings. They'll automatically be taken to the right room. But I will tell you that has given us some problems. I've talked to a number of faculty whose students ended up in the wrong meeting room because of using that app. So I don't necessarily recommend it, because it won't let you use your personal meeting room. That change was made early in in March, I think it was, when there was this brouhaha about Zoom bombing and so on. It was making the news and got blown all out of proportion, and Zoom felt they had to make certain changes in order to respond to that, more as a PR gesture than anything else. Yeah. And as a result, that Confer Zoom app became a little bit more likely to cause the major problem that you're going to have with Zoom is having your students in the wrong room. But as long as you use it religiously and your students always use it, it'll work fine. Okie dokie. Anything else? I think most everything else is probably fine at the defaults.
Dave, can I add one thing?
Please.
This is for everybody else. This is Larry Foster. One of the things I did, besides pulling all my hair out last semester, was
I don't have any either.
yeah, man, last semester was crazy. But I went on the internet and I looked for Zoom shortcuts. Okay, and there's a lot of shortcuts like Alt F1 on your keyboard. You have an Alt key,
Right,
and then you have at the top of your keyboard you have function keys, and there are all kinds of them. There's zillions of them. Two that I found really good for everybody. Number one is I always started the meeting mute, made sure all my students came in mute. What I'm doing right now is you can tap or hold the space bar if you want to talk. As soon as I release the space bar, then I'm back to automatic muting again, which is really cool. The students got into that. The other thing that I really liked was Alt-M. Alt-M. It will automatically mute everybody. So if you got a whole bunch of students talking over on top of each other and nobody can hear everybody and you got a whole lot of static, I just press Alt-M and that mutes everybody. And then we can kind of say, okay, guys, we got to be a little bit more organized. We can't be talking over, and you can kind of start refresh again. I found that. There's other ones I use, but I found muting everybody at the beginning and teaching my students to use the space bar in order to talk.
Is that for PCs?
Pardon me?
Is that for PCs or Macs?
That's PCs. I have no idea about Mac. Probably Command. CMD?
Yes.
That would
Command
be a guess.
instead of control, right?
Yeah, but I just wanted to pass that on. I use that a lot. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, I'm pulling up a Zoom support page for that, and I'm going to put that in the chat tool. Thanks for bringing that up, Larry. Zoom keyboard shortcuts.
I did a copy and paste, made my print really large, and have it with me as I'm teaching, so I can go, oh, what was that command again? What was that? What was that? So I've got it right there next to me as sort of my notes while I'm teaching.
Very good. Okay, there's that link in the chat tool there. And one of the things that Larry mentioned, the ability to use the space bar like the push to talk button on a walkie-talkie requires a setting change in your Zoom client. Let me share my screen to show you that one. All right. Bring up that client. When you join a Zoom meeting the first time, Zoom automatically downloads and installs a little desktop client. This is assuming you're using a computer, either a Mac or a PC. It downloads and installs this little client. And there are settings in this client that you can use. And on audio, you have an option. No, darn it, I can't get to it from here, can I? No. Okay, so where you're gonna have to go with that is to your audio settings menu, which is down here in the lower left-hand corner, right next to your mute button, the little microphone. I believe, yes, I'm sharing that screen. And if you click this little up caret next to the microphone, and go to audio settings, the bottom link there, there is an option to press and hold space key to temporarily unmute yourself. That doesn't happen automatically. You have to make that change. So be sure that that is checked. And you can tell your students to do the same thing. And if you do that, you will be able to use that feature, which is a lot more convenient when you just want to say something briefly and then stop and leave yourself muted. That's a very handy thing to have. Okay, great. Let me see. I saw some other stuff in the chat tool here. Let me ask. How do I copy the home page from my development shell to my fall shell? Kenna, do you just want to copy the home page, or do you want to copy everything?
No, the home page. And then
Just
I had a question.
Page. Okay,
Yeah,
just wanted to be sure I was answering the right question. Okay. You can copy individual items or selected groups of items from one course to another in Canvas without having to copy everything. So let's say I'm in a Canvas course here. Go back to my dashboard. Let me get myself out of the way here. And let's see. Maybe I'll let me check this one. Nope, that one's already got it in it. Just looking for a good example here. Okay, here's one that does not have an opening page set. To copy content from one course shell to another, you go to the so-called destination shell, the shell where you want the content to appear, where it's not available presently. And you go to the settings button in the course menu, and you select on the right in the task menu, you select import course content. You're then asked, what type of content do you want to copy or import in this case? And if you open this menu, you see what the options are. If you're going to copy content from one of your Canvas courses that's on our system into this shell, you select copy a Canvas course. Even if you don't intend to copy the whole thing, you select that option. If you are, on the other hand, if you're importing a Canvas course that a colleague has provided you or that your department has provided you in the form of a Canvas export package, you would select the second option. And there are, of course, other possibilities as well, but those are the two most common. So in this case, we'd select copy a Canvas course. And then you can type the first few letters of the name of the source course, the course where the content is currently located and where you want to copy it from. So I'm just gonna that was a little too generic. There we go. You just type enough of the name of the course shell in order to get where you want it, or to bring up the course that you want to copy from. And then you have the option to either copy everything from that course, which is what you would do if you were, say, copying content from your development shell, where you created your course, into the live teaching shell that you're going to use for fall term. You'd select all the content to be copied. But in this case, we're going to copy selected content. We only want one thing from that course. And I don't ever recommend that you use adjust events and due dates. You can try it someday. It won't destroy anything, but it can leave you with a mess of dates that you have to correct. It's easier to just correct them manually in most cases. All right. So once I say select specific content, I just click the import button. And a copy job pops up. This is the latest one I've done in this course. And we have a button that allows us to select the content that we want to copy. Then we get a list of just about everything in that source course. And this is actually looking at that source course. And we have everything from course settings to files to quizzes and pages. And our opening page would be a page in that course. So I'll have to look at those pages to see. I could take them all by clicking this checkbox right here. But most likely, in this case, I want to select a particular page to copy. So I click that right pointing arrow there, and it gives me a list of all the pages in the source course. So I sort of have to know which one is my home page. In this case, I'm going to guess it's course homepage. And I select that. And then I just I click that checkbox. And then I click the big blue button at the bottom that says select content. And that actually starts the copy. A copy of just one or two items like this usually happens almost instantly, as it did here. There was one issue. I probably want to look and see what that was. Wiki page body, missing links. Not sure what might have caused that. We'll have to look at it when we get it. But that page was copied over. All right. Now it's in my Pages tool here in this course. And there should be something in here. Yeah, there it is. Course homepage.
Wow.
I can view.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but the only problem is I'm looking at it and I have my announcement and my syllabus and my modules, so I don't want to transfer my modules over. Maybe I should just do a new welcome page.
So you won't be transferring anything but this particular page.
Okay, so then I have to then upload my new syllabus and my new modules.
Right, unless you want to copy your modules from the old course.
No.
Okay. Well, no. This operation we just went through only copied that course homepage.
Oh, okay, good.
That's all. This course shell already has some other stuff in it.
Okay.
But the course homepage, and it's set as the front page.
Yay.
It brought that setting over as well. However, probably it's not going to show up when I click home, because there's a second step you have to do in order to have that page that you've selected as your front page actually show up first when the students enter the course. That's called the course entry point, where what the students first see when they enter the course. And in order to set that page or to activate that page that I just copied as the opening page for this course, I have to go to the home link in the target or destination course and click choose home page. And there are 5 things, and the terminology gets a little loose here. Canvas hasn't done a great job with that. What you're choosing here is the course entry point. That is what the students see first when they enter the course, and what you see first when you enter the course. And there are 5 options there. The top one is the course activities, or the first one is the course activity stream, which is just a list of current events in the course. Or the course modules as the default. When the student enters the course, they're taken right to your modules. Another option is they can be taken right to your assignments tool or right to your syllabus tool.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily if you upload your course syllabus as a file into a module, that option will not take them to that syllabus. So the option we want here is the page, the Canvas page that is marked as the front page for the course. And if I select that option and save it, then when students enter the course or when they hit the home button, they'll be taken to that page. So it's a 2-step process to enable that page as your actual course entry point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when I was taking this course, they had us in our development shell. There's little bars: announcement, syllabus, modules, and grades. And so we would have to upload our syllabus. So I really liked the way they did it.
Yeah.
But then my next question is the syllabus. I uploaded my syllabus, but there's a link. But then when he showed us how to do it, I guess his previous system then would open up the syllabus, would show down below. But mine doesn't do that. So
you want to use the syllabus tool with the course schedule and all that in it, but you want your syllabus to actually pop up in a scrollable window, like it.
Yeah, but that's how. That's how he taught us, and I thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that's a nice option. To do that sort of thing, you have to go to the syllabus link in your course shell, and this is what that syllabus tool looks like when you first get it, in an unmodified development blank Canvas shell. You have a text area up here, and you have what I call a course summary, which is basically a course schedule. It's a list of all of your assessments sorted by due date. This does, one of the reasons that I'm not that enamored of this particular tool is that this gives your students another way to access your assessments rather than having to access them through your modules. And I'm not enamored of that. I like to force them to access their assessments through links in your content modules in Canvas, rather than have them having a shortcut to them. So they always have to access them in context with all the course material and so on that they need to study before they take the assessment. But that's just a personal preference. Anyway, so how can we get that embedded document? And let's see if I can make that work. It's been a while since I've done that. To do that, you must edit this top section here. And that's what this edit button is here. And you can then, the one thing you can do if you like, is just paste your course, the content from your course syllabus document right into this rich content editor box here.
That's what I did.
That will work, though sometimes you lose some formatting when you do that, particularly if your course syllabus is a Word document. Word has formatting capabilities that are not available in this rich content editor, that are not part of the hyper HTML language. So it can look a little wonky. You may have to clean it up a little bit, but that's a quick and easy solution. And you can just paste right in there. But there is another way to do it. You can attach a file to this. Let's see now if I can remember how to do this.
Would it be in files?
No. Let's see. Trying to remember.
Over on the side.
Oh, yeah. We go to File Links over here on the right. You're absolutely right. And we, and unfortunately, I don't think this course has that syllabus link in it. So I gotta go to another course to illustrate this. Sorry about that. This will do. I'm gonna make sure I haven't already done that in here as an illustration. Yes, I did. That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how did I do that? Well, I went to Edit.
Dave, is there any way that you can maximize the screen, because I'm having a hard time to follow you with just your voice.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it just that the type is too small, or is your screen not taking up your full, is your
well, I'm just looking at your you know, a small screen.
Oh, okay. And you have the Hollywood Squares view up and running? Yeah, go to speaker view in the upper right-hand corner. That'd be true for all of you. I should have mentioned that earlier. I think we did talk about that, but I should have announced that at the beginning. You're going to need to go to speaker view in order so that you see my video, because I'm not sharing my screen. I'm actually bringing this computer screen in through my video transmission. And if you've got gallery view set so that you're seeing all of us at the same time, you'll need to go to speaker view, which the button should be in the upper right-hand corner of the screen for you.
Upper right corner. Oh, yes, I got it.
Okay, now can you see it?
Yes, I do.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so what I did here to make that happen, and maybe you let me back off this, there we go, a little bit, so I get these tabs over here on the right. I went to Files, and I found my syllabus document over here. Here's the Word doc. And I inserted that in that way. And then there's one other thing you have to do. Let's see if that gives me what I want. Oh, that's what we had before. What is that? There's one extra step there, and I'm trying to remember what it is that causes that file to appear as a click any file to insert a download link. But I need to also, to make it appear in that scrollable box, there's one more thing. What is that? I'm zeroing in on it here. Yeah. Once you put that link into the editor, you highlight the link. And I've got this in there twice, so let me take that out. You just highlight the link. And then you click the link to URL button in the Rich Content Editor control bar. And you make sure that auto open the inline preview for this link is checked. And then you update the link. And then update the syllabus. And then you get this, so this is called an inline preview of the document. So the document is visible there.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, sorry, it took me a minute to remember exactly where that option was, and it's in the link to URL button here for this link. So you have to highlight the link, click on the chain link icon, and select this option.
Okay, yay. Thank you.
Hey, I remember it. Okay. Great. Let me see here. Here's a good question. I have a student who's doing an incomplete. And
Oh, that's mine.
Yeah, I see. And it had to happen sooner or later. How do I add him to his old class or one of my new courses? You can always add him to one of your new courses.
Okay.
And that's probably your best bet, because then you don't have to go back and make the old one available again.
Now that should be easy.
A bunch of hassles.
And that should be like what you demonstrated by going in. I think I did with Blackboard. But
exactly.
What if I wanted to add someone from has a Canvas account from either like Miramar College or someone from Southwestern, where they're not, like Southwestern is not with the San Diego Community College District, but they do have Canvas.
Right.
But
you're right, it's not our Canvas system. So we would have to add them to our system for you.
So
if it's a colleague at any one of our colleges, Miramar, Mesa City, or continuing education, you can add them as long as you have their PeopleSoft ID number.
Okay.
But if they don't have an account on our system, we'll have to add the account for you. There's no way you can do that yourself.
Okay, so even though they have a Canvas account, it's not with our district.
It's not in our Canvas system.
Okay.
The Canvas systems for each of the colleges, or each of the districts anyway, are completely separate silos. They don't share a user database or a student database. That would be impossibly complex to deal with. So they're separate from one another. But we're quite happy to do that.
Who do I contact? Do I just
Chris Rogers or Trenton Tidwell.
Okay.
At, Online Learning Pathways. I prefer that they do that sort of thing, since they're currently responsible for managing the system. And they need to know that something like that has happened. So.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you.
Good questions. And that's going to come up a lot. Okay, we just answered that one. On Canvas, what's the difference between Zoom and Confer Zoom? Larry?
Dave, I think you already answered this. So earlier, so it's okay if you want to skip over it and get to
Well,
somebody else's
I'm not
question.
sure. I'm not quite sure I did, because Confer Zoom accounts that you get, the ones that you're almost certainly using, are provided to you free through the CCC Confer state video conferencing grant, paid for by the state chancellor's office. But they are just regular Zoom Pro accounts. So there is no real distinction between a Zoom account and a Zoom Pro account and a Confer Zoom account. They're basically the same thing, except that one you would have to pay for and the other you don't.
I gather that from your previous discussion that there might be some problems using Confer Zoom, and that it's just generally safer. I was very comfortable doing my Zoom as a separate from Canvas last semester. Was very comfortable with that, and
that's
we'll
how
be
I
happy
do it.
doing that. Okay.
But there's a difference between the Confer Zoom account that you get and the Confer Zoom app in Canvas. Okay, that app right there is just a gateway to your Zoom Pro account that you've gotten from the state. It's a convenience. It makes it a little quicker for you to schedule a meeting and find your recordings and things like that. But as Larry so aptly points out, there's nothing you can do with that you can't just do by managing Zoom from the Zoom website. And if you do it that way, you have the advantage of being able to use your personal meeting room, which you can't do if you use the Confer Zoom app. That doesn't mean you can't have a link to your personal meeting room in the course menu in Canvas.
See, on my home page, I set it up where it's the home page. It opens up and it has a link to every resource that I will use.
That's certainly one way to do it. But it's also possible to create a link in the Canvas course menu that will allow the students to access your Zoom room from the course menu, so they, no matter where they are in the course, so they don't have to go back to the home page to do it. And it's something that comes up from time to time, so let me answer that question, even though it wasn't exactly asked. You can do that by going to your settings link in the course menu. And you have a number of tabs here across the top on your settings page. And the one we want in this case is the apps tab. And we very quickly want to click on installed apps here, because you only want to see the ones that you can actually use in our system. All these others that are not, and you can't install apps in the system. They have to be installed by an administrator. So there's something we're looking for here called the redirect tool. And it's this right swoosh arrow here. And this will allow you to put a link into your course menu in Canvas that links to an external resource, something outside of Canvas. It's about the only way you can add something to your course menu in Canvas. And it's pretty easy to do. We just click on the redirect tool and we click Add App. We're then asked to provide the link that we're going to put into the course menu, a name, and I'll call that, I've done this several times in this course. I don't want to accidentally pick the same thing again. So I'm
type mom. Oh, okay. I was going to say it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter which. Well, it only in that you want it to be self-explanatory for your students. So I'm going to call this Zoom Access.
All right.
I could just call it Zoom, but I think I did that once before. I might end up with 2 of those. So
Zoom, Zoom.
Zoom, Zoom. There you go. Sound like a Mazda commercial. Yeah. Okay. So there's, we call it what we wish. Can't be too long or it won't fit in the course. It won't fit neatly into the course menu. Now, in this box labeled URL redirect, we just need our Zoom meeting invite link, that link that you can provide to your students in any number of ways. So to get that, I need to go back to my Zoom settings. And actually, I need to go to my meetings link and to my personal meeting room, which is where my personal invite link is, right there. And I just need to highlight that and copy it to my clipboard. I do that in the usual way, the Control-C or a Command-C on the Mac, or just by right-clicking and copying, or command-clicking and copying. You know how to do copy-paste. So I copy that to my clipboard, then I go back to Canvas and I paste that link in there. That's my personal meeting room Zoom link, join link. I, of course, want it to show in course navigation, otherwise students wouldn't be able to see it. And then I just click Add App. Now, if I refresh the screen, I will see at the bottom of my course menu that Zoom access link. I can, of course, put that anywhere within the menu I like by going to the navigation tab in the settings page. And I can drag that up and down, put it wherever I like. So if I make any changes like that, I have to go down and save them. It's one of the things in Zoom, in the Canvas, that won't stick unless you save it. So now I have that Zoom access. There it is, right there. And now, if I want to get into my personal meeting room, or if one of my students wants to get in there, all I have to do is click that link. It has to be opened in a new tab. And once I allow that, now I'm in the process of joining a Zoom meeting. This is exactly the process you went through to get into this meeting today, so I know you know how to do that. At this point, I would just click open, or one of my students would click open Zoom. If the student's doing that for the first time, Zoom would automatically send them the Zoom client and install it for them. They don't have to do anything once they click open Zoom. If they already have the client, Zoom will just open it up and join them to my personal meeting room. And since I have my personal meeting room set to allow join before host, they'll go right in and they can start talking with whoever might happen to be there already. So that's a really simple process then for the student to get into your meeting room. All they have to do, all they have to know other than that is when the meeting's going to be. And if they're not sure if it's going on right now or not, they just click on that link and peek in and see if the meeting's going on.
Is there a limit to the number of apps I can add?
I'm not aware of it.
Because I can see this is really cleaning up a lot of navigation. Zoom, YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, I have got my own personal Google site that I use quite a bit also. So this will clean up a ton of navigation and make my pages cleaner. I like it.
Cool. You know, it's just the menu can get long. and they require a lot of scrolling up and down, but I don't know that there's any limit to the number of instances, the number of links you can add. So knock yourself out, see how it works. Yeah, this is the only way really you have to customize your Zoom course menu.
Thank you.
You bet. So there was a question there that needed answering, even though we didn't know it. That's the beauty of sessions like this, is that things, little serendipity like that, things will pop up that you never knew about, never thought about, that can improve your lives.
Well, can we do one of those inside a page or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, you could always put a link to your Zoom room inside a page. Absolutely.
Or even to a website.
Pardon?
Just to a website. Just put a URL.
Yeah, you can put an external URL inside a page.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, but there, in that case, of course, the student has to be on that page in order to see that link.
Right.
And if it's the home page, chances are they can get to it easily enough. But there's something to be said for having it in the course menu as well, because that's always visible on the screen. No matter where the student is in the course, they can see that course menu. So it makes it a little bit easier for them, lowers the cognitive load just a little bit. Let's see. If students post work in a discussion, how can we grade it? Great question. All grading is done in Canvas, almost all, in the speed grader, the inline grading interface. It's very similar to what we used to have in Blackboard, thankfully. To grade, you're usually going to access your grades through the Gradebook, which is your grades link in the course menu. Let's see. And I can scroll around here and find a gradable discussion. I can look and I can look and I can look. This is a gradable discussion. That's a little hard to tell in this gradebook. I can go to the actual item here by clicking on its name, and I can see that that is in fact a graded discussion. It tells me that right there. And then I can go back, or I can do another trick in your gradebook is you can, under View, you can set filters on for assignment groups. And if you've created assignment groups, you can ask for just your discussions.
Hi, Dave, it's me. Can I
Yes.
cut in today so that it must be then that when you set up the discussion, you've identified it as something that's to be graded?
Good question. Yes, indeed.
All
Let's
right.
look at that again.
Okay.
If I edit this discussion, I'll see the screen that I see when I first create it. And there is an option here to make it graded, and that has to be checked in order for the discussion to be gradable. And once people post in it, I don't think you can change that. So that's something you have to remember up front.
Dave,
Yes.
the question on the Gradebook, how do I add the test student? I only have like a grades, but I wanted to see it's my Gradebook does not have for the fall semester. I don't have a test student. How do I add it?
How do you add a test to your gradebook?
Sample student in the Gradebook.
I'm sorry, your sound is a little bit garbled. I'm having trouble hearing. Sorry about
Can
that.
you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now I hear you.
On Gradebook,
Yes.
I'm preparing for the fall semester to add a sample student or test student.
Oh, a test student.
Right.
Very good. I'll deal with that next, okay?
Okay,
I'll show you how to use the test student. Okay, so but anyway, the first question that started us, we started off with here, was how do you grade a gradable discussion? And this is one right here. And here's a sample submission. That's what you see in the grade book if a student is posted to the discussion, but you have not yet graded it. To grade that, of course, you can just click on the link. You can go to the discussion and read through the whole thing and find that student's posts and say, okay, that's worth 5 points. And you can just type that in right here. But that requires that you search manually through a string of maybe hundreds of posts in order to find that student's posts. You don't have to do that. You can click this little right arrow here that comes up when you click on that icon, that submission icon. Click the right arrow and a panel slides in from the right-hand side of the screen that deals with this particular submission for this particular student. And what you're really interested in here is that there's a link there to the speed grader, which is where you do almost all your grading. So you click on that link to the speed grader, and the speed grader goes and it finds all of the posts that student has made in this discussion topic, in this discussion forum. So there were 2 posts, and I can see exactly what the student has posted themselves and any replies that the student has posted to other students. And I can look through that, and if that meets my criteria, I can go over here and I can give them a grade. I can just type in the number and then submit. And I have the same options here for comments that I have in when I'm grading homework assignments or assessments or quizzes, excuse me. And I can provide audio video feedback. I have all the usual options there. But that's how you grade a gradable discussion and how you avoid having to read through the discussion topic and find that student's posts manually. Did that answer your question? I'm going to hope that did. All right, now there was another question about the gradebook. How do you get your test student? How do you get a test student in the gradebook so you can try out things and check to see how things are working? And the answer is real simple on that one, thank goodness. All you have to do to have your test student show up in your gradebook is to go to your home link in your course menu and go to the task menu on the right and select Student View. This will show you what your course looks like to a student, and that's its primary purpose. It allows you to ensure for yourself that your students are able to see different parts of the course and that it looks to them as you expect it to. But this does more, this test or this student view does more than that. It in effect logs you out as the instructor and then logs you back in as a test student. So while you're in student view, you are actually logged into your course as a test student that is restricted to this course. But you can not only look at the course, you can do things in the course that any student can do. For instance, a test student can go to the, as a test student, you can go to the modules. And let's see if I have anything open here. Like the syllabus quiz appears to be available. Let's check on that. And no, darn it, I can't take that one. Apparently, that one's apparently expired on me. Let's try this defined screencasting. Yeah, I can submit an assignment as a test student. Resubmit in this case. I get the usual options here to upload a file. I can choose a file. I don't think I have a file that would be entirely suitable here. Let me try this. Oops, that's the wrong link. It's trying to access my wife's computer. There are my documents. Let me just find something here I can use. I'll just pick that at random. It looks innocuous enough. Click open. And then submit assignment. And I get the little confetti. That's a new little fillip they added to the Canvas a few weeks ago. It's meant to reassure students that they did, in fact, that the submission did, in fact, go through.
Everyone
now, yes. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry?
No, I just asked, is everyone getting confetti? It wasn't just for the testing.
That's true. That's correct. Anybody who submits an assignment gets that little display now. Now, okay, so I've done something. I've submitted something as the test student. If I leave student view and go back to being me, just that quickly, it's logged that test student out and logged me back in as the instructor. Now I can go to the gradebook and I'll have in my gradebook a row for my test student. And all you have to do is go into student view and come back out again, and you'll have that row in the gradebook.
So you're just going into the home and student view and just coming back out, that will create the tested student, huh?
That will create that, it will create the row in the gradebook.
Right, okay.
The test student's already there, but it'll have a row in the gradebook once you use it once.
Right.
And yes.
Oh, so we don't have to request anymore for a test student?
No, the test student is there automatically.
Yeah, because when you look at it, our gradebook does not have a test student. And I thought we always had to request one, is what we were told.
Nope, all you have to do, that was true in Blackboard. Well, okay. Actually, that wasn't true in Blackboard toward the end. Toward the end of our tenure in Blackboard, Blackboard had something very similar to this. But early on in Blackboard, you actually had to request an actual student account that you could use for testing. But then Blackboard created something like this, and I think probably Canvas copied that from them. But anyway, this is an actual submission from that student. And I can click on it and go into the speed grader. And I can grade that. And I can practice all of these things with my test student without having to impact my real students in any way. And that test student will stay in your gradebook as long as you like. If you want to get rid of it for some reason later, because you maybe you're recording grades, you want to get a clean copy of your grade book or something like that, you can always get rid of that test student line in your grade book by going home again and going into student view. And there's this button at the bottom of the screen labeled Reset Student. That eliminates anything that the test student ever did in the course and removes that row from the grade book. Basically makes it as if you'd never used the test student. And then you can, of course, the next time you use the test student, that row will appear if you don't reset the student each time. I like to leave that my test student in there because I always have something to use for testing. Just check and see if a homework assignment works the way I expect it to, or if a quiz looks right. I can use my test student. I just go to student view and go into it as my test student, and I can troubleshoot any problems. So that's how you use your test student. Okay. Okay, we got that.
I have a question related.
Good.
I liked a lot of what I did in the spring. So when I started my new course, my new shell, I imported from my spring course.
Right.
But, and I'm working on my shell, and I'm going to publish it eventually one of these days when the semester starts. But
yes.
Now when I look in grades, I see a whole bunch of assignments, I guess, a quiz here, an assignment there, whatever, that are all in red, and they all say unpublished because they were from a previous semester, and they're not even in my grade book now. They don't have anything to do with this semester. How do I get rid of that crud?
Well, that's a warning to you that those assignments are in fact not published and the students can't see them. You can
I get rid of them to clean it up?
Yes. You can tell the gradebook not to display unpublished assignments.
Okay.
And here's how you do that. You go to the gradebook, and I believe it's under gradebook. Nope. View. There it is. Under View in the gradebook, the View menu, make sure that Unpublished Assignments is unchecked.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
Makes sense?
Yep. Got it. Thank you.
Excellent. We're making some progress here. Let's see.
I have a question.
Good.
Yes, I mean, how do I delete a column on my gradebook?
In order to delete a column from a gradebook, you have to delete the assessment that that column is associated with.
So
you can't delete a column itself. You have to go delete the assessment, and when you do that, the column will automatically disappear. So if I wanted to get rid of this column, I would have to go to my, and you'll find all of your assessments in the Assignments tool in your course menu.
Yes.
This is some somewhat confusing terminology in Canvas. Canvas uses the word assignments a little too loosely sometimes. As it's used here in the Assignments tool, it means any gradable item, any assessment within the course is listed in the Assignments tool. That includes all three types of assessments that you have available to you in Canvas: homework assignments, quizzes, and graded discussions. They all appear in the Assignments tool. And then sometimes when Canvas uses the word assignment, it's talking about the specific assessment type of a homework assignment, where a student uploads a file to satisfy a homework assignment. Or that's the most usual way for them to satisfy that. So it gets a little confusing, but at any rate, you go to your, to get rid of a gradebook column, you go to your assignments tool and you look for the assignment or the gradable item whose column you want to get rid of. And let's say I wanted to get rid of this in-class writing assignment here. I can go to the context menu for that assignment, the little 3 dots over here on the right, and I can click that menu or click that button, which will bring up a menu, and there's a delete option in that menu. When I delete the assignment from the assignments tool, the column in the gradebook will automatically disappear. Did that make sense?
Yes, I'm not sure if during the spring term was when I kind of set up Unpublished column, and then I had a hard time to delete that one afterwards.
Well, it will have an entry. Any column that's in the gradebook will have an entry in the assignments tool here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you have to delete it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no delete column button like there used to be in Blackboard. You have to delete it here, and then the column just goes away in the gradebook automatically.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Makes sense? All righty, very
Yes.
good. All right. I'm also interested in knowing how to create groups of students in Zoom. Can we create and in Canvas, student groups in Zoom and Canvas? Yes. Let's take 2 different questions. Zoom has something called breakout rooms, where you can create basically mini Zoom rooms that are subordinate to your main Zoom meeting room, and you can assign your students to those rooms and split them out. You can take them out of the main room and put them into the breakout rooms where they can work with one another for a set period of time or until you decide to bring them back, and then they can report on what they've been doing. Just as
Wait, Dave?
Yes.
Put us in break rooms.
I tell you what, that's something I was just going to mention, that I'm doing that session on Friday.
Never mind.
Friday, 10 a.m. I'm doing intermediate Zoom, which includes both breakout rooms and polling, I see mentioned in the chat tool here, because those are fairly extensive. That's not a quick answer, in other words. That requires me to demonstrate how that works. So that might get us a little bit too deep down the rabbit hole right now.
And we could lose.
I will be doing all of that on Friday. And if for any reason you can't get there on Friday, I certainly understand Friday morning you might have other things to do. On our on-demand video site at sdccdolvid.org. That's the URL right there. SDCCD, OL for online, VID for video.org. There's a button at the top of the screen labeled Workshop Archives. I always like to show this when I can in a question and answer session anyway. And this has every Zoom recording that we've made over about the last 5 or 6 years in the way of training sessions like these that we've done. And there's probably several sessions. I'm not sure when I last did intermediate Zoom. So let me see here. They're listed a dozen at a time. There are 9 dozen of them, listed 9 pages. There it is. The last one was on June 2nd. And that covers breakout rooms, polling, virtual backgrounds, live streaming, things like that. You know, the next level of stuff in Zoom. So that recording is there. And you can go through that, or I would love to see you on Friday morning. Now, Canvas. How do you create student groups in Canvas? We got a session for that too. Let me see. I believe that one was more recent. But I just want to make sure you know all those are there. Generally, the more recent ones are the better ones because we get a little bit better each time we do it, I like to think. But let's see, using groups. Or you can just search for groups. Might be quicker. Using student groups in Canvas. Last done on June 26th. We also did it on March 12th. But I'll be doing it again before too long. But that one's not coming right up. So let's take a little bit of a look at that. How do you create student groups in Canvas? You do that from your People tool. Same place we went to add people to the course. And there is a Add Group Set button up in the upper right. And that's where you get started with this. You click that button. And a group set is a series of groups related to a particular task, a particular collaboration, a particular assessment, a particular project, whatever. You can have as many group sets as you like. And within a group set, you'll typically have 2 or more student groups that are focused on whatever that group set is about. So if you have a final project that is done in groups, you would have a final project group set. And then you might have another student group set for some other assessment or some other purpose. So you can have as many group sets as you like, and within a group set, you can subdivide your students into a series of groups. You can do that manually, which is the default, or you can split the students automatically into a selected number of groups. So if you've got 50 people in the course and you want no more than 5 people in each group, you'd have to create 10 groups. And each group would automatically have 5 students in it, and they would be assorted randomly. Or you can allow the students to sign themselves up into groups by their own preferences, but you can then limit the number of members in each group. You can create the groups and then limit the number of members so that everybody can't sign up into the same group. So, or you can just create them manually and create the number of groups that you want and assign the students to those groups manually. Again, I don't want to get too far down that rat hole right now because I save that. Oh, group set. Give it a name.
I'm just going to cut in with one question.
Please.
So if each week I wanted for lab 1, you know, the lab exercise for week 1 and week 2 and week 3.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Could I do both, or maybe at the beginning of the semester, do both, allow students who knew somebody in the class to choose to be in a group with them. But then anybody else who was left, I just had to randomly sort them into groups.
No, if you select sign up, self sign up, I think they all have to do the self sign up.
Okay.
I don't think you can mix that. Good question. Be nice.
Okay. You know what I just thought of though? If anyone else is listening.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to put students into groups and ask them to self-sort. I think I'll name the groups with some characteristic of the students themselves that would make them want to work with someone else who was happy or
can you name
or right, like maybe anyway. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Very good, very good. All righty. So yes, you can create student groups in Canvas. One thing you can't do with student groups in Canvas, which is a little irritating, is you can't restrict access to modules or items within modules according to groups. So you can't like say, okay, here's a module and this is available only to this group of students in the course. Canvas doesn't have that capability. And it's kind of strange that it doesn't. Not quite sure why. But I always mention that when I talk about groups, because that was the first thing I wanted to do when I created student groups in Canvas, was I wanted to be able to restrict access to course content based upon the type, which groups the students were in, which is something I could do in Blackboard, but you can't do that in Canvas. Let's see, do I have to log out of my Zoom account so that the next time I open Zoom, I can sign in? No, generally, if you check that little box that says keep me signed in, as long as you don't reboot your computer, Zoom will leave you signed in. I rarely log out of my Zoom account. The only time I have to log out is when I have a personal Zoom account that I use, a personal free account that's not associated with CCC Confer that I use for family stuff. And I have to log out to get into that one and log back in. But no, it'll keep you logged in most of the time, unless you reboot the computer. Can I show how we create a small quiz? Okay, certainly. And a rubric. And then do a screenshot to it. Oh, this sounds like a like a training course question. Sure. Creating a quiz. Yes.
I'm the one who asked. I hope it's not too many things, or maybe something very easy. If you can demonstrate for how to create a small quiz and do a little rubric, but I don't want it complicated.
It's not especially complicated. The rubric is more complicated than the quiz. Just want to see the quiz? Okay.
Yeah, maybe I can probably check the other ones for the rubric for another seminar.
Yeah, I was going to say there's my last one on grading in that those workshop archives. The last one on grading in Canvas had the how to create a rubric.
Great, thank you. I'll check it.
All right. But to create a quiz, what I like to do is go to the modules and create the quiz. Let me get myself off the screen there. You don't need to see my profile there. And be able to count the number of chins I have. If I want to create a quiz within a particular module, I just click the Add Item to Module button at the top of the module, and I select Quiz as the thing to create. If I'm creating a brand new quiz, I then click New Quiz, and we'll have to give the quiz a name. I'll just call it Sample Quiz. And add the item. As an alternative to that, if I want to create a quiz not associated with a particular module yet, I can go to the quizzes link in the course menu, and I can click the Add Quiz button. that will create a quiz that's not linked into a module, but you can always link it in later. In any case, there's that sample quiz I just created. So if I click on that, I can then edit. It's a blank quiz right now. So I edit that quiz, and I have two tabs to work with. I have a details tab that was referred to in Blackboard as test options. That's where I indicate how I want the quiz to work, how long people have to take it, things like that. And then I have a questions tab where I actually add questions to the quiz. If I click, let's go to the details tab first. I can type quiz instructions. Hopefully they'll be a little bit more informative than that. I can select quiz type, which is almost always graded quiz. I'm not even going to worry about the other options. And I can select various test options. Be careful with shuffle answers. Shuffle answers rearranges the possible answers in a multiple choice or multiple answer or matching question in such a way that no two students get, the first, second, third, fourth answer are in different order for each different student for that question. And if you use answers like all of the above, or first and second but not third is correct, you can't shuffle answers. So be careful with that one. And if you use a test bank, never use shuffle answers, because there will be questions in the test bank that won't be compatible with it in all probability. So that one's probably safer to leave off. Time limit is self-explanatory. You can set the number of minutes that a student has to take the quiz. One of the most important items in test security for an online test is not giving the students more time than they really need, so that they can't go and Google everything in order to get the answers. Typically a minute to a minute and a quarter or so per multiple choice question is usually plenty. You can determine the number of times the students can take the test. If you just leave this unchecked, they can take it once. If you allow multiple attempts, you can give them unlimited attempts, or you can set the number of attempts that they can take it, the number of times they can take it, and you can determine which score you're going to keep, the highest, the lowest, or the average, or an average of all the attempts. The next block in test options governs whether students can see their test submission after they submit it and get feedback. By default, they can immediately see their responses, and they'll see which ones they got wrong. They won't see the correct answers by default. This is usually unchecked, but they will be able to see which questions they missed. You may or may not want them to see that right away, in which case you can uncheck this. And they will not get any feedback initially, and you can wait until after the test is done and everybody's taken it to give them the capability to go into their grades tool and see what they actually submitted. And you can choose whether to allow them to see the correct answers for the ones they missed. And then you have some options about that. You can have them see them only after their last attempt, which would, at minimum, I would say you would want, or you can have their correct answers appear at a certain date and time and disappear at a later date and time.
Dave?
Yes.
Could you, so yesterday, talking with some other bioscience lab people, I See, I have a brand new, my eyes were opened about letting students take an exam the second time. Now that we have to change up our approach. What if you let them take it the first time and they know that the second time they take it, they're going to get half the questions the same, but half will be different, and they're going to be different for all students. Anyway, is there any way to set it so that everyone would have to take their first attempt at the same time when our class is synchronous, but then you could have any time in the next 3 days for your second attempt? Could you do that?
Well, yeah, you could just not publish the test until you get the students, until a certain date and time.
Oh,
So
that's true.
the test will not be available until 2 o'clock on Wednesday.
And then
you publish the test
after anyway, right?
Between and then however long you give them, say you give them an hour. At 3 o'clock, you unpublish it again, and it's done. Then you can change your now
settings.
If you're actually changing the questions so that you've replaced half the questions with another set of questions, you really have to make another test.
No, what if you make a group, right? If you put the questions in a group coming out of a test.
Yes, right. Indeed. If you have the questions put in as a question group,
right,
then Canvas selects them randomly from a question bank.
Right.
And it will do that the first time too. No two students will get the same test the first time.
Right, correct. So they'll only get some number of them the same the second time around.
Right.
So would you publish it during the class time and then?
I'm sorry?
Would you publish it during class time and unpublish it, and then 2 or 3 hours later, when now you have 2 more days to retake it?
Or if you don't want to unpublish it, you can just slap a password on it. Require an access code. And you can put a password on it after the end of the first take, and then not give them the password until you're ready for them to start to take it again.
Okay.
Or you could just let them take it any time after the first attempt.
Right. I think I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine too. But you have options in that regard. Good question.
Thank you.
All righty. And then you can also, of course, set due dates and availability dates in your test options screen. The due date is not enforced. The student can take a test after the due date if you allow it. Setting a due date doesn't enforce that. It just marks it late if the student takes it afterwards. If you want to enforce that, you also set a display until date, which is equal to the due date, and then the test becomes unavailable after the due date, and the student can't take it after the due date. And you can also set an available from date so that the student can't get in before a certain date and time. So you have lots of control over when students can access the test. To add questions, you have 3 buttons here, which correspond to 3 options for adding questions to the test. If you add new question, that allows you to create a new question in Canvas using the Canvas question editor tool. You can select the type of question you want to have. There are quite a few question types. True, false, for instance. You can type in a question text. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, you learn that the sky is not blue all the time. Fairly foreign concept to those of you in San Diego. And you tell it whether the question is true or false. and you update the question, and now that becomes a question in your test. So that's how you add a question manually to the test that you type from scratch. Your other option is another option is to find the questions. If you have question banks loaded into your course, which you have gotten from a publisher or which you have created yourself, you can choose questions manually from within those question banks. Select the question bank, select the questions you want within the question bank, and add them to the test. That's a lot faster if you have question banks. They're always nice. Of course, it's usually a good idea to vet those questions as well. Question groups are a little bit more complicated. Question groups allow you to select a certain number of questions from a particular test bank randomly, or allows Canvas to do that for you, so that each student gets some number of questions from that question bank, but no two students presumably, or rarely, would get exactly the same questions. So that each student gets at least that part of the test is different for each student. You just link to a question bank to pick the one you want to use. Here's one that's got, I've got a question bank, a chemistry question bank that has 25 questions in it. I'm going to select that one. And I select the bank. Then I tell it how many questions from that bank I want each student to get, maybe 5 questions. And I have to tell it how many points per question I want each question to have, because I can't set individual point values in a question group. And once I make those decisions, I just create group. Now, when a student takes this test, the last 5 questions here will be randomly selected from that question bank that I chose, so that no two students should get the same 5 questions. There may be some duplication, but by and large, each student test will be quite different. You can indeed create a test that is nothing but question groups, and so that no two students are going to get the same test. It's a good security measure, and certainly some questions are harder than others, but those things tend to average out over time. So it's a great way to quickly build tests and to enhance your online test security. It does require that you vet the questions in your question banks fairly carefully, so that you know that there are no bad questions that are going to be chosen. And every test bank that you get from a publisher has some bad questions in it. I don't have to tell you that. When you're all done, you just click Save or Save and Publish if you want to make it available to students right away. And then the test is ready to use. So that's how you...
With a lesson learned the hard way.
Please.
If you are going to select for a new question group, if you're going to select a question group coming from a bank, and you set the exam up first, it selects the question from the bank before you go and modify them. It selects them immediately when you
right.
set the question group.
Right. If the questions in the question bank need editing, edit
Do
them
that
before
first.
you create the test. Good point. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, because those questions are kind of baked into the test at that point. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was something that surprised us a little bit.
Yeah, it ruined my first exam.
Well,
Right.
I mean, a lot of splaining to do in that circumstance. No. Okay, let's see.
Oh, you guys.
Why does recording turn on when I open my Zoom meeting room?
Yeah.
Good question.
Why does it do
That's
that?
because there's a setting in Zoom that tells it to do that. If we go to again to your Zoom account management screens at zoom.us. By the way, sometimes when you do this, you'll see this URL up here, be ccconfer.zoom.us. It's the same website. It's just an alternative URL. So don't worry about that. You're in the same place. You're in the right place. If we go to settings after we log in, and under recording options, there is let's see, record meetings automatically as they start. And that is apparently set on in your account, the person who asked that question. So you want to turn that off in all probability. But otherwise, you get all the little chit chat and so on that happens up front before you actually start the formal class. And you may not care about that. And of course, if you have that set on, you'll never forget to record the meeting, which is the number 2 most common way that Zoom fails. Actually, I can't blame that on Zoom. I have to blame that on me. I usually have somebody in my meetings, if I forget, usually there's somebody who will remind me because they know what my proclivities are in that regard. But that you can turn that off.
I can't find the settings. I'm in here now. I can't find my settings.
Okay, go to go to zoom.us
Zoom.
and be sure you're logged in as you.
Yeah.
Go to the settings link on the left-hand side of the screen.
No, I just see me, personal meeting ID, personal link.
Right, that's because you're in the meetings link. You see something that looks like that?
Yeah.
On the left here, if you look down, you'll see settings. If you scroll down, you'll see settings there.
I've host a meeting, join a meeting, schedule a meeting. I can't get to that settings. I don't know what I did. Oh, there I am. Okay, settings.
Oh,
okay,
settings.
good.
Okay, and go to recording. There's a recordings tab.
Yeah.
Recording tab at the top, and that's where the option for automatic recording is. I've come
so
all around.
Do I want to do that or no?
Where are you storing your Zoom recordings in order to make them available to your students?
I just have them on mine. I don't make them available to them.
Oh. If you ever decide to, of course, you'll have to decide whether you want that little bit of chit chat up front and so on to be part of the recording. You can always chop that off, but that if you're storing those on your local computer, you have to have a video editor to do that. If you put them on the Zoom cloud, there's actually a little trimming tool in the Zoom cloud that will allow you to not play back that part of the recording. But I just try really hard to remember because I like to be able to say things up front and so on that are not part of the recording. So I like to start it manually.
Okay, so then I wouldn't click save chat messages. I wouldn't save that. Oh, those are the chat, yeah.
That's
save panelist chat.
That's up to you. I like to save everything.
Oh.
The chat log is not available to automatically available to attendees who come back and watch the recording. You can make it available, but it's not automatically available. And of course, remember, they can always save the public part of the chat log Anything that's sent to everyone, they can save themselves. So, but those are your options there. How many students can appear visually in the Zoom box? Since I can only, I can only see 20 boxes in my meeting. True, because there are only 20 people in the meeting. Zoom will show up to, I believe, 49 webcam rectangles in a single screen in gallery view. If I go to gallery view, well, you won't see that. But, and if there are more people than that in your meeting, there will be a second page of webcam video windows that you can navigate to. So you can, basically, you could, by paging between pages of little webcam windows, you can see everybody who's in your meeting, no matter how many there are. Okay, hope that answered that. Do we need special equipment to superimpose ourselves in front of our computer desktop like you did today? Is it part of a virtual background?
That's my question, and I'm kind of at another Zoom now, so could you just go to my second question, which is, how do you create those blue buttons? Like they're called video buttons, like when you do it, like, hey, wait, let me turn this down.
And multiple Zoom meetings. Huh? I'm sorry. Which blue buttons are those?
Okay. Like when you have the home page. Can you hear the other people? I can see if I can turn it down lower.
Sorry about that.
We just logged out.
Everybody's having the same meetings at the same time.
Right.
I just have to log out totally. I can't get to the volume. Anyway, when you, for instance, on the homepage and the test and everything, they showed how there was a button for syllabus, a button for modules, and that looked kind of cool on a homepage. So how do we create those buttons? I think they're called radio buttons, because it's better than just a link with just the words.
Right. The process for creating that would involve finding an image for a button that you liked that could be typed in. There's no utility built into the rich content editor in Canvas to make like a nice blue button like this thing here, like this settings button.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that requires that you find an editable button template somewhere on the web, an image that you can alter and add.
Like if we use the template that I think Chris Rogers created one for us to use to create our homepage test.
And that had some created buttons in it.
Okay.
And you can use those, and you can link those buttons to anything within your course or anything outside the course very easily. But creating the buttons requires at least a minimal graphics editor. Canva is a good option for things like that.
Dave, could I interject?
Canva.
I'm sorry?
Could I interject? Those emails from Canva I might pay attention to then.
Hello?
Oh, no.
Oh, me. So you're saying that we can use the template that Chris gave us, and there are others like that, and you can change the names to whatever it is that you want.
Right, change the names within the labels within the buttons can be changed.
Okay.
But that's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're doing right now, unfortunately. But if you want to send me a question about that, I'll get you some information on it.
Okay, and you said Canva, C-A-N-V-A, not to be confused with Canvas, no S, because they send a lot of emails with things. I usually just delete them, but you're saying maybe I shouldn't delete. They might have something.
Oh, Canva is a useful little tool. I know Katie Palacios uses the heck out of it, or has for years, and makes some great looking images. And I believe that can be used for buttons as well. But if you'll send me that email, that question in email, I will get you some more detailed information on that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
You bet.
So, Dave,
Yes.
I have the answer for Kathy.
Oh, great.
Good.
Kathy, my name is Nona. Can you see me?
Let's see.
You can email me. You can email me, and I'll show you how to do that. It's an HTML code that you can plug into.
Right.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll save that.
Very good.
Thank you very much. All right, but I have to go now. But let me save the, because I can go back and get the mail, but save the chat.
There you go. Okay, let's see. I'm working my way down here. We did that. You need to put your personal Zoom app for each shell. Yeah, if you want to add to it, let me mute everybody here for a second. There we go. Yes, indeed. If you want to put your personal Zoom meeting room as a link in your course menu, you'll have to do that in each shell. Unless you copy one shell into another, then that would copy over as well. Okay, somebody wants help with the 6.11 assignment in the training course. All right, that's a perfectly legitimate question here. Let's go to that. I'll have to go to the training course, current version. Forget which computer I'm on here. Here's the current one. All right, 6.11. Go to our modules, go to module 6. 6.11, create an assessment. You are asked, there are your 3 types of assessments. You already learned how to create a graded discussion. For the scope of this assignment, you'll be creating an assignment. By that, they mean a homework assignment within your Canvas development shell. Okie dokie. Instructions. Create an assignment that includes a rubric. Create students that they want you to make a realistic assignment that you might use in your course. And let's see. So basically, the assignment is to create a homework assignment that has a rubric associated with it. April, are you still here? I have muted everyone. Let me go to gallery view for a second here. Yeah, I see April's living room, but I don't see April. So let me put that one off until April gets back. It's amazing what you can do with Zoom. All righty. How do you correct a question or answer in a published quiz that students have taken? I found an error after they'd taken it, so I want to fix it so other students don't have the same issue. Boy, do I feel that one. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. The answer is you can go in and you can make the change in the question, either in the question text or in the answers, and save the question. And when you do, Canvas will ask you, it will give you several options as to what it will do. It can give everybody credit for the question so that no one's penalized, or it can regrade the question so that people who might have gotten it right before might now have it wrong. They might have genuinely answered it wrong. But it will regrade and based upon the changes you've made, and there's one or two other options. But yes, you can edit a question after the students have taken the test, and then Canvas will ask you what to do. Let me see, I think I can show you that here. Not in the training course. They'd shoot me if I messed with that, and I deserve it. Let's see. For instance, I think I've got a quiz, some quizzes here that have student submissions.
Well, hi,
yes.
Dave. This is
Yes,
Rhea. That's my question. And
right.
When I do that, it doesn't always give me an option to do that. It says save, and then I hit save, but it doesn't pop up and ask me any of those questions. So
if you change an answer, it will ask you that. If you just change something in the question text, it may not.
Okay, so that little box on the left-hand side that says notify users of this change, do I need to select that?
That would be something you could do, yes.
Okay, because.
But let's try that. Let me try that. I'll just go into the syllabus quiz here. I'm pretty sure that has submissions. No, doesn't look like it does. Let's see. Let me look and see which quizzes have submissions here.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Oh, of course, of course. Let me see if these are actual submissions or if I just typed in a grade. Oh, that's an actual submission. Good. All right, so quiz for Camtasia has some submissions. So let's go to that one. Okay, if I edit the quiz.
Okay, edit the quiz.
And students have taken it, that's where it tells me that. All right, if I go down and I go to the questions and I edit a question, and let's say I change the answer from false to true, then you get regrade options, which include award points for both correct, give everybody the credit, only award points for the correct answer, some scores may be reserved, give everyone full credit, or update questions without regrading, and don't change anything.
So which one would you choose?
Well, that's a good question. My inclination would be to give everyone credit for it, but just make sure it doesn't happen again. Edit the question so it doesn't happen again. But not everybody feels that way.
No, I feel that
in many
way.
cases, they say, well, they missed the question in the first place. They got credit for it. They shouldn't have. I'm correcting my error, and they're going to lose points. But then, of course, there's a lot of crying and moaning and sackcloth and all that. So it's just a matter of what your tolerance is for that sort of thing.
Well,
most of us have developed a tolerance after a while.
Yeah. Well, so if you, I'm sorry, Dave. So if you just change a number that's in the question, say the number, I put a wrong number in the question itself, and I changed that, and then I went down and hit save.
Let me try that. Let's edit this one.
Just put a different number or a different.
Or Camtasia, Windows and Mac. How about Camtasia? Or let's change this. TechSmith Capture, which is a different program, is free. If I change that and update the question, it doesn't ask me that.
But then you still have to hit save. But down at the bottom, would you hit that notify users of this or not?
Well, you can notify users that this has changed, but that's all it does. It just tells them there's a change. It can't tell them what it is.
Okay.
So.
Then you hit save at the right-hand side then, if you wanted to save it.
Yeah, and it just saved it. It didn't. So yeah, you have to change the right answer
for that. So if it changes,
to be triggered.
Does that save it all on all the students' tests then? When
yes.
You change it, will it change all the
students?
That
would save it on all of them.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I was doing it right, because some of the students are coming back and say, well, you changed that, but it's not right. It's still not right. And I don't know why that's happening. So I thought I was missing.
Well, if you didn't get that dialogue popping up, if you edit a question like that in the test and they've already taken it,
right?
Is that going to update? That's a good question. Let's see.
You can, if you need to go on, you can go ahead and just put it on the side and email me later.
That's a really good question. I'd like to know the answer myself.
Okay.
That was this test. So let's look at a submission that was already there and see if that change was made. Nope.
No, it wasn't made.
It was not. So it's only going to show up for new people who take the test.
Okay, so I feel bad when I put a bad question in there. I don't want to hold them responsible for that. It's my fault. So I usually give them credit at 1 point for that when there's an error.
Yeah. And the easiest way to do that is to just change the answer. And then when that regrade option pops up, just say, give everybody full credit for this question.
Okay.
And then you don't have to go through and manually add points or whatever to each
okay.
one.
Sounds great, Dave. Thank you so much for taking the time to show me. I appreciate it.
That's what we're here for. Good question, too. I just learned something, so that's always worthwhile.
All right. All right. Well, you take care.
And trust me, we've all done that, and we'll do it again, no matter how hard we try to avoid.
Dave, I have 5 different classes.
Oh my God! Yeah,
and they all have different.
Perfection is not an option.
Yeah. So students, I let them know. I said, if there's something wrong with that question, you let me know and I'll fix it. And I usually give them credit, but it's just interesting that there's not one for all. Like you can't fix it and make it all go right. You just have to.
Yeah. Well, in some cases you can, but not if there's just a typo or an incorrect word in the question text.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Only if you change an answer,
change the
correct answer does it. Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. I checked to see my. I'm sorry.
No, I just said thank you very much.
Oh, you're certainly welcome. I checked to see my new practice shell for this new term. I assume you're talking about the training course. I only have an old practice shell from last year. Well, that's fine. You just use the same. We don't, if you move from one year of the training course to another because you didn't finish in the previous year, you keep the same training. You keep the same practice shell. We do that deliberately because if you had done some work in that practice shell, you still have it and you won't have to redo that. So yeah, you just the new practice, the old practice shell is just as good for this semester's, this year's course as it was for the old. So just continue to use the old one. I need to erase the course setting and start fresh. How do I go about it?
Yeah. Hi, Dave. I just wanted to know. I think
Hey, Helen.
Hi, Dave. Just wanted to see as a safe net, if I want to start fresh again, how do I erase? You know, the
Yeah, if you want to just, if a course you're working in a shell and it just becomes foobar, fouled up beyond all recognition, you can start over with it. I just urge you, be careful. Be careful. If I want to do that in a shell, I just go to my let me go into a shell. You have to go into the shell to do it.
Right.
Go to my dashboard, and I'm going to pick one that I, just in case I twitch, I can, if I were to reset the training course, they wouldn't just fire me. They'd find me. They'd send someone up here to get me. Okay, here I've got a shell. If I want to just make it a blank shell again, I go to settings, and you do have this capability now. We recently reinstated this capability for faculty because a lot of people were wanting to do this, but please be careful. The option in question is reset course content. It's on the settings page in the task menu on the right near the bottom. And you get this dialog box that basically says, if you do this, this is going to become a blank course and there's nothing we can do about it. If you did this in the wrong course, it'll be lost and gone forever, my darling Clementine. So be careful about pushing that big red button. But you can do it. You do have the right to do that as an instructor.
Right, last resort. Okay, thank you so much.
You bet. Let's see, from a previous workshop, I have the following. Set a threaded discussion aside for student questions about course. Oh, yeah. One of the better uses you can make for the discussions tool in a Canvas course is to create a discussion topic that is simply designed for students to ask you questions or ask questions about the course that are not confidential. You know, things, something about how to do something or where something is or how something works within the course. Setting up a discussion topic for this as an alternative to having them email you or message you in Canvas can save you a lot of time, because you generally only have to answer a particular question once, and then you can refer the students to the discussion topic where they can see the answer. So I always set up a Q&A form in a course where students can post questions about the course. And I go check on it periodically and answer those questions. Though one of the best things about it is sometimes, as will sometimes happen in a Zoom meeting here, it's already happened a couple of times today. Before I can get to it, another person in the course will answer the question. And all I have to do is look and make sure they answered it right, and I don't have to answer it. So it's a great tool. And also, even if I have to answer it, I only have to answer that question once. If another student asks that question in a message or something like that, I can just refer them to the Q&A forum where they can go and find the answer, which saves a tremendous amount of time. Otherwise, in an online course, if you do everything by individual messages, if you handle all questions by individual messages, you may answer the same question 10 times, 20 times or more. And that's just not a good use of your time. A question and answer forum or topic in your course under your discussions tool can make that much more efficient for you. So that's what that, I'm guessing that's what that note was that you took.
Dave?
Yes.
I am seeing something weird. I don't know if everybody else is.
Okay.
You're appearing on the screen, and the background for you is your Canvas shell.
Correct.
How did you do that?
I have been, they have been paying me to do this, and my wife allowed me to use a little bit of that money for some new toys.
Well, you can't tease us, Dave. You cannot tease. You have to tell us.
So I can bring myself up in front of my screen. And you notice I'm not sharing my screen. My screen is actually appearing where my video image normally would appear. And that's because I have a device here that Zoom looks at or sees as a webcam. I can show you what that looks like. I have to change which camera I'm using here. Now I'm using my webcam. I can take that and hold it. Sorry, close your eyes a second if you're easily seasick. And what's causing this to work is that little device there. That's called a live video switcher. It's connected by this cable to a USB port on my computer, and Zoom sees it as like another webcam. Connected to this switcher are other video sources by what's called HDMI cables. It's high definition video. The same kind of cable you use to attach your cable box to your TV, or your Roku to your TV or whatever. So I have several video inputs going into this switcher. This one is from a camera that's looking out my back window. This one is my computer, which is how you're seeing me in front of my computer screen. This one is, what is that one? That one is my primary camera that's looking at me here. Not the webcam, but another video camera. And I can switch between them by just pressing these buttons. So this switcher also has something built into it called a chroma keyer, which is basically what Zoom uses to put you in front of a virtual background. But my virtual background is live. It's I'm not using Zoom's virtual background tool. My background is live. It's a live computer. So I can show you what I'm doing on the computer without sharing my screen. But more to the point, I can do tricks like this.
Right. So it's not.
Or I can put myself in front of the screen, and then I can take myself away at the push of a button.
Right.
And the switcher costs $300.
Okay.
Which is amazing considering that just 3 or 4 years ago, to get this capability, you had to spend $4,000 to $6,000.
Right.
And it does. And I had to buy a couple of high definition cameras. They were a couple $100 a piece. So I've got about $700 in this right now.
Okay, I'm cured.
So it's fun and it's cool and it's not that hard to do, but it does require a serious addiction to toys. and a little bit of expenditure and an understanding spouse.
Yeah, thank you.
All of them necessary. Can I create a survey the same way I do a quiz? Yes, exactly. When you create a quiz, as a matter of fact, you have an option to decide to call it to make it a survey instead of a quiz. You just go to your quizzes tool, click add quiz, or you can go to the modules tool and add it from there. But when you, in your details tab, you have practice quizzes, which are not graded or are not recorded in the gradebook. Graded quiz, which is the usual option. I have no idea what the graded survey is. I'll just have to admit. I don't know what that would be. Or you can just make it an ungraded survey, but you have the same question types and so on that you can put in there. Otherwise, the process is identical to creating a quiz.
Great, thank you.
You bet. You all are very sweet. Thank you. When I share my screen, I can't see my participants or chat. Why not? Okay, to show this, I'm going to have to actually share my screen. So I'm going to dump out of this, go back to my webcam, and now I'm going to share my screen. And I have my screen share. There's an option that you can choose in screen sharing in Zoom that will allow you to show your Zoom windows and your Zoom menus at the bottom of the screen, so that everybody can see what you're talking about. And I have that set. So when I share my screen, and I'm sharing my screen right now, why can I not see my participants? Probably you don't see, because you can see here that I do see some of you here as I'm sharing my screen up at the top.
It's when I share a document.
Well, you know, I can, even if I'm, if I've got a Word document up here, say, let's see what I have open. Here's a Word document. My wife's been helping to homeschool our granddaughter in London. This is this is her lesson plan for a few days ago. I'm sharing this document now, and yet on another screen, I still see you all. And if I full screen it, I can see you better. So trying to think, the one reason, most likely reason why you would not see is if you, when you share your screen, let me kill my screen share here. No, actually I have to share the screen. All right, here I have I'm sharing my screen here. When I hit that share screen button again, and I'm preparing to share, if I click optimize screen sharing for video clip, it does not provide me with those little webcam, the little video windows while I'm sharing my screen.
I did not.
That's how it optimizes. It cuts out that bandwidth so that there's more bandwidth available for your video. So if you check that, you won't see those.
Okay.
That's probably the reason. And I can't see the chat. Well, right. but you can always bring the chat up. Let me see. And I'm not sure, since I have those options set, I'm not sure this is going to work. No.
I know how to bring it up from
Okay.
but I wasn't seeing my controls at the bottom, so I couldn't click on chat because the ribbon wasn't there.
So your menus were disappearing on you.
Yeah. Plus the participants.
Oh, right. But you get this control bar, right, at the top of the screen where you have the stop share button and so on. If you don't have the options I have set to share my Zoom windows, if you go to that toolbar and go to more, you'll see chat there. And you can bring it up from there.
It's not there though. Look, it's not there, it's missing.
Well, have you set your options to allow you to share your Zoom windows?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's why. That's why. But in that case, you've still got, when you're sharing your Zoom windows, you should then still have your Zoom menus down here. Mm-hmm. And if they're not showing, you should just be able to mouse over the screen.
Yeah, I've
and
tried
have them
everything.
pop up.
I've tried everything, Dave. It was a colleague of mine and I together in a Zoom meeting, and we were trying to figure out what went wrong.
And then when you hit chat, let me close that again. When I hit chat, that should pop up.
Yeah.
If you have multiple monitors, it might show up on another monitor. It probably will. But you should be able to see that chat box. You can even, oh no, I can't do that right now. But
I'll try that optimize.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, and keep tinkering with it. You should be able to keep up with the chat at the same time you're sharing your screen, even if in fact you are sharing your Zoom windows. And indeed, you can share the chat window in that event.
Could I email you if I can't find the answer?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, thank you.
Righty, let's see. How do I unpublish my summer module? You can unpublish modules at any time. Courses, not so much, but the course will automatically go into a read-only state when the course end date is hit. So you don't have to worry about your students continuing to submit stuff. But you can't, once something has been submitted to a course, you can't unpublish it. You can, it will be concluded, but it won't, when it reaches its end date, but it won't be, you can't unpublish it. And that seems to have gotten to the bottom of the chat tool. How about some more questions? April, there you are.
I'm so sorry. No, it's my fault. I apologize. I had a family emergency.
Oh, I do understand.
Yeah, I don't expect you to answer this completely. I've hit a wall with 6.11 on a graded assignment. And so what I did is I wrote down some small questions to try to move.
Good.
Yeah, I realized
right ahead.
Show me how to do a rubric. Okay, the first one is it consists.
Oh yeah, I can. If you want to wait around for it, I can.
Oh, I can wait, but I know others have. Okay, well, first for the assignment,
go ahead.
I always write down everything Chris Rogers says. At one point, we select assignment, and it looks like he wants us to select assignments and not new group. He doesn't really explain what that particular part is for. He just goes over it real quickly. And it makes sense to me to select assignments and not new group because I don't even know what new group is.
This is the 6.11 assignment, right?
This is 6.11.
Yeah.
That
doesn't involve student groups at all.
So don't select it. Okay. The next question is for when I write the instructions for the assignment. Am I to do it the way I've seen the other models in the modules do it by beginning first with an overview where I say that this is the very important thing to learn how to do in Spanish. And then in the instructions, tell them what they have to do. Because I noticed in Chris Rogers' model, as he's narrating his video, there is an overview and then there are the instructions. So is the overview expected or just the instructions?
The instruction. The assignment must have instructions. That's
so I
all
don't
it
need
is.
an overview.
No.
Okay. The next question, is it okay if I give a model for doing my exercise? The students are going to be spelling some last names in Spanish, and I always like to give students a model, and I've never seen that in any of the other modules other than the one for the outline. So will I be dinged for providing a model by showing them how to spell one word so they know? Okay.
I can't imagine why you would be.
Okay. The next question is, do I need to explain to them how to submit it? Because I've never worked on Canvas before. I've noticed that almost every module ends with, now copy the correct URL to your clipboard, navigate your way back to 6.11, and then hit submit the blue, then go down and paste in the URL and hit submit.
Of course, their instructions are probably going to be to just upload a file to submit. They're not going to be submitting a URL. That's kind of an unusual sort of submission that we use in the training course because it saves us time. If you submit it that way, we don't have to go and find your training course and log into it and go looking for the page within the course where you've done the work. That link just takes us directly to it without us having to spend all that extra time, and it saves us hours and hours and hours of grading time. But that's a fairly unusual circumstance. It's something I can't imagine why you'd use it if you weren't in fact teaching people how to use Canvas in a training course.
So I don't need to include that.
No.
I don't need to tell them how to submit.
But there's nothing wrong with providing a link to a Canvas guide that shows students how to submit an assignment, and that's available to you in the Canvas guides.
Do I need to do that?
That would be a nice
assignment?
touch. It's not required.
Good, because I'm not
certainly it would be a nice touch, particularly for your actual students. You can find that in your help.
You go to help. Yeah, I've gone to the Canvas guides. It is very helpful.
And if you go to, let's see, they keep moving these around. Where are they? There are the Canvas guides. And this would be guides for students.
Mm-hmm.
And assignments, there's the topic. And how do I submit an online assignment is one of the student guides. And you could just take that URL right there and put that in an external link in the assignment instruction at the bottom of the assignment instructions.
Is that required for this particular assignment?
No, but it's something, beyond the training course. It's not a bad idea, because then a student who has not submitted an assignment before has the directions embedded right there in the instructions. So that's it's good pedagogy on the designers, the training course, to show you each time how to submit an assignment in case you forgot.
It is. I've memorized it. It's what I sing at night before I go to sleep. I have memorized it.
But doing
sorry.
that same thing for your students it would be a really good idea.
The horror story now is the rubric, because they don't provide any directions. So what I did was I did what they asked me to do. I read the literature and I printed out one. The problem is there's so much there. It looks like the one I want, and I sort of narrowed this down. It looks like I go to home, I click rubrics, then I click on plus add rubric. You give it a title.
Actually, probably if you're associating a rubric with a particular assignment, you're generally better off doing it from the assignment. So you can pull up let me get into a course here. you can go to the assignments tool.
Okay, go to assignments.
And find the assignment for which you want to create. You'd be doing this in your practice course, of course.
Yeah, but no, this is for the online certification program.
Right,
So I'm doing
right,
this from the module, and I know which one I'm doing already. So I know I click on that.
Right, and when you get to your the screen, the assignment screen, before you go in to edit it, there's a button here that says Add Rubric.
I saw that, so I'd click on there.
Click on that, and then you get the rubric.
Add title. Now we're on the same page, so I want to go over this. So add title, I'm going to call it spelling assignment because that's what it is. And then for the criteria, I want to do one like we've seen in all of the modules where you list the criteria, which is the goal that students can spell the words in Spanish, and then have 10-5-0 rating. And when I look at it, I see that it looks like I'm going to click range. First, criteria, I have to click edit, where I'm going to put what the criteria is. And it looks like I'm going to look for the short description, because it's just going to say students can spell last names in Spanish. Does that sound like range?
Yeah, you don't have, the long description is entirely optional.
Okay, so then I click range, and that's when the points are going to come up. And that's where the directions get fuzzy, because I just want it to be 10-5-0, real simple.
Well, right, so you don't click range in that event.
Oh, I don't?
No, if you want to assign 5 points or 3 points or 1 point, don't click range.
Okay.
Just make a rating for each one. Like it gives you, you know, full marks, 5 points, 0. This is just boilerplate. You're going to have to edit each of your ratings. So if you want one that gives 5 points, you type that in here. And instead of calling it full marks, you might make that more informative, like correctly, of course we want to take out full marks, correctly, what is it, pronunciation or writing?
It's spellings. They're learning how to spell Spanish.
Correctly spells all Spanish words.
Yeah, I figured out what I want to say. I want to say uses the alphabet. That's important because sometimes they make up letters. And then spells all 5 words that I give them. That's basically criteria for getting the full score.
Right. And then you notice that by default, you only get 2 ratings or 2 levels of accomplishment of the criterion. So if you want 3, you have to add another one using this blue plus sign. And that gives you a 3rd rating. And you can make that however many points you want, 3 points, say.
I was going to make it 5 because it's a 10-point assignment.
Ah, gotcha. So you make it whatever is appropriate. And then you type in the description of the level of achievement.
That makes sense.
And you've already got and then you update the rating. Oh, I got to give it a title. Let's put something in there. And then, of course, you edit the last one in the same way. That would be 0 points and like didn't do squat or something like that. And update that. And that takes care of that criteria. Then you may well have other criteria other than that one.
Yeah.
And you can add criteria, a new criterion. You give it a description. And then you have the same thing again, where you just edit your ratings, adding new ratings as needed. And it doesn't have to be a congruent table. That is, not every criterion has to have the same number of ratings possible. So you could have 2 ratings for one criterion and 3 for another and 4 for another. it doesn't have to be a, you know, a nice neat table. Where
Is there a
there's
place,
number.
is there somewhere I can go to find that? Because I went through all the literature and what you just explained, some of it's there, some of it isn't, because this is the part that's going to get me.
I'm trying to remember if I've made that tutorial. It was on my list. Just give me a sec. I'll go look.
Yeah, if there's a tutorial, that would be fantastic. Because I am not
to do that.
Yeah.
I meant to do that. I know it's included in some of the grading seminars that I've done, but you know, it takes some time to find it and so on. So let me. Please be there. No, shoot, I still haven't done that.
Well, that's okay. You've I have half of it. I'll figure it out.
I think you can figure the rest of it out. That is a tutorial that's on my list to do, and it is in my last grading seminar.
Yeah. Okay. You've given me a lot of information. Can I ask one more question? It's a quick one, unrelated to this. It's from my chair.
Certainly may.
She wanted recommendations for attendance because I have been told, actually you told me, and so have all the modules, that our dropping people is based on last date of activity, not so much on logging in. And the reason it came up as I was saying to my chair, do we have a policy? Because my department's never had one. And she said, no, I leave it up to the teachers. Will this come up at the end in the certification? Because you had said in the quiz a couple of sessions ago that we were going to be asked a question about attendance, and it's based on the last date of activity. So am I making sense?
Yes, you are, and yes, it is going to come up in the certification statement, the 7.1 survey. And the correct answer, the answer we're looking for, is that the last date of attendance in a course is generally the last time a student submitted something. Not the last time they bopped into the course and swanned around, looked around a little bit, and then went out. They actually have to have submitted something. And that's their last date of attendance for financial aid purposes.
So here's the other question she had. She said all the teachers, she's looking at their syllabus, they're saying things like, I'm going to drop you if you miss 5 Zoom sessions. I'm going to drop you if you miss 3. Is this acceptable then? Because that's based on attendance at a Zoom session rather than handing in an assignment or something like that.
Right. That might get to be challenged. If it's if the course is listed as fully online.
These are synchronous instruction through Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, they are synchronous, so they're coded that way in PeopleSoft?
Yes.
Oh, you're fine then. Yeah, you can say that. I mean, you get to decide. I mean, as a faculty member, it's your judgment and your prerogative to make that decision. And your dean is just reflecting that. That's an element of academic freedom that I don't think many deans would dare tread upon.
Okay.
And you get to decide, as long as it's not something that violates something in the distance education guidelines, like requiring a student in a fully online course to be in a synchronous session at a particular time.
Right.
But if they're coded that way in PeopleSoft so that it is a synchronous course via Zoom, fine. You can certainly make that requirement.
To me, the best way to get around it, I'm not dropping anybody. I think it's best just to record my session so that way those who cannot attend can go up there into the cloud and avoid the issue. Okay, thank you so much.
And if a question ever arises, you can tell if you put a link into the Canvas course that they have to click on to see the recording.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell if they clicked on that link or not. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, why not?
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, I'm fuzzy on the rubric, but I will, do more research on that.
I will try to move that closer to the top of the list where I have
I think
or maybe I'll just go and cut that piece out of that. I could do that quickly. I could go and cut that piece out of that recording put it in as a separate video so that people could watch it without having to find it in the recording. Okay.
I think
Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
No, it's good. They're good thoughts.
Meeting at the workshop archives. The last video you did on grading showed a Rubik. You said that earlier today already.
Right. Yeah, it's in the last grading in Canvas, which was done on May the 22nd.
Okay.
It's in there somewhere, but finding it is another matter. I could go in there and pull it out for you and make it a separate link so you didn't have to sort through all the other stuff.
Okay, thank you so much.
That would be kind of me.
It would be very kind of you. Thank you.
Okay, how about another question? Had some great ones today. I've learned some stuff.
I think you covered it because that was probably my question too. About the Rubik.
Okay, I will prioritize that and get that done as quickly as I can. Because yes, I know rubrics are it's a complicated concept. And it's so complicated to get it, but once you got it, you save yourself so much time that it's well worth the time you put in to make it.
I thought I had to do the Rubik from the district. From the department, have their own Rubiks.
Well, that would, do you really want people telling you how to grade your course?
Well, they do, and they even tell you how to do a syllabus.
Well, they can tell you how to do a syllabus, but grading, having somebody interfere with your grading, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, but we're not really.
I don't think that's a step we want to let them take into our stuff.
We're just doing surveys, I think. I'm in what is it, non-credit? We don't give grades.
Right. So you don't, rubrics are of less importance in that event, but you can still use it to evaluate in a non-grading manner. But yeah, but everybody who takes a training course has to know how to make a rubric.
Right.
They're pretty adamant about that. So, and that's a good thing.
To their test. It would be according to your test. It wouldn't have anything to do with the district or the department's Rubik, right?
Well, departments generally don't hand out rubrics for individual assignments or something like
that. They do evaluations of the students.
Oh yeah,
Rubik.
That's and right. But grading rubrics are usually a personal thing.
Okay, it has to do with what you're
unique to each faculty member, and it's it's your right in running your course to decide how you're going to assign grades. And that's one of the most fundamental pillars of academic freedom, and nobody wants to infringe on that in any way, if for no other reason than the fact that the union would be all up in their stuff before the day was over, and rightly so. Okay. Anything else?
Are we done?
I'm just answering questions. I'll answer questions until you run out of them. Randy, I saw your hand up.
Yes, sir. I only need a couple of your minutes here. I don't know if you want to make me last or take me now.
Well, that's up to you. If you're willing to share it with everybody, I'll do it now.
Sure, I got nothing to hide. Okay, what I want to do. Hey, believe me, I got nothing to hide.
Been so long since I had anything to hide, I can't remember when it was, right?
As you know, I've been through it all. So anyway, here's the deal. I want to start, my classes are on Wednesday night, and they're construction plan reading, blueprint reading, and as much. So what I want to do from this point on each week is I want to go Wednesday nights, and I want to go to Zoom, which I have an account set up. And on Zoom, I want to do two things. I want to be able to put my face on the screen and speak to them. And I also want to do this. I have a disc and one of these I don't know if you can see this. See this disc up here? Okay, I got
I
one
sure
of these.
can.
I got one of these full of those same blueprints. So I want to be able to take that disc, put it in my laptop here in the side where there's an opening, and I want to put that disc on my Zoom and point things out. Because when I do put the disc on Zoom, I'll be able to go from blueprint to blueprint, sheet by sheet, and I want to talk to them. So I have two things I need to do. I need to be able to find out how, because I don't know anything about how to put that disc on the screen. And then I want to know how to get my face on there like you're doing for the times when I don't have the disc on the screen. That's it. So,
well, first your face will be on the screen automatically when you start your meeting, as long as you have your webcam turned on, which you do. I mean, you obviously know how to do that. I'm seeing you right now just fine. So your face will be on the screen by default.
All right.
The trick is, how do you get the blueprints on screen?
Right.
And that's really two questions. One is, how do you bring the blueprints up on your screen in the first place?
That part I know. I just put it in the side.
Okay, good.
On my
All right,
screen.
so that question's answered. The next question that does have to do with Zoom is, how do you show those to your students?
Right.
And you do that by, and let me drop back here to standard Zoom technology. Here this is my webcam. And now let me share my screen. Actually, I was already sharing my screen. I just canceled that. Now you're just seeing my face. This is what your students will see by default.
Right.
And as long as you're talking, they'll see you. If somebody else talks, they may see them for a short time, but then you start talking again, within a second or so, they'll see you.
So if I just go to Zoom, and begin speaking, I'll show up on the screen.
Correct. If you start a Zoom meeting, and your students join you, and you start talking, you'll show up on the screen.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
To show your students the blueprints,
right,
you're going to have to share your screen.
That part I don't know anything about.
Which is basically fix it so that your students, instead of seeing you full screen,
right,
are mostly seeing what's on your computer monitor.
Okay.
That's called a screen share. And it doesn't matter what's on your computer monitor, they will see it. So if you bring a blueprint up on that screen, they will see it. If you bring a Word document up, they'll see that too.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm kind of lost now. So I have the disk in the side of my machine, and I know how to find it on my machine.
Right.
But how do I get it put on Zoom?
Put it on your screen.
You don't have, all you have to do is open that in the usual way, open up that
the disk.
The disk, yeah. Open up the software on the disk that allows you to view the blueprints.
Right.
If you bring one of those up on the screen, you may have to minimize your Zoom window for a moment to work with, to get the right to select the right blueprint and so on.
Okay.
Or you can do that in advance. You can select the first blueprint that you want before you start your Zoom meeting and have it on your computer screen, and then start Zoom, which will pop up on top of it, but your blueprint will still be in an open window right underneath your Zoom window.
Okay, and then to change plans on this disk that I have, the printer, the company that prints for me, they broke out every page on its own on that disk. So what I have to do, I go to sheet number A1, and if I want to go to A2 next, I have to go back down and find their, and then click on A2. And then I go back up, and then I go back and forth as I change each page.
So probably what you'll do at the beginning of your meeting, after you just shoot the breeze with them for a second. But when you get down to the serious business of blueprint reading, you'll share your screen. You probably leave it shared for most of the session. And when you share your screen, your Zoom window will vanish. It actually just minimizes automatically. And what you will see on the screen is your blueprint.
Okay.
And what that looks like to share your screen at the bottom of your, and we did this the other day, and you shared your screen successfully. At the bottom of the in the Zoom menus here, there's that green share screen button.
I see it.
And I'm not sure, and you click on that, and then there's a blue button in the lower right-hand corner of the white box that pops up, a blue button that says share.
That I don't see. Oh, wait. Oh, there it is. Share screen.
Yeah, don't do it right now. I'm about to share mine, but you see the button, right? So
Yeah,
if
that
you
green
click
one.
that button, then whatever's underneath your Zoom window will show up. And you not only will you see it, but your students will see it on in their Zoom windows.
So if I'm on the screen there, my face is on it, and I put that disc in and click that disc, that will put that on and set on my face, correct?
Yeah, it'll come up over top of where you're seeing your face, but you'll have to get back to your Zoom screen. You may have to minimize the blueprint for a second, and you have to get back to your Zoom screen to share your screen. It's the act of sharing your screen in Zoom that makes it possible for your students to see that blueprint that's up on your in a window.
So if I don't share the screen, they won't see anything, will they?
Correct. Absolutely. That's the thing you got. That's the critical understanding.
So
you
even
have to share your screen.
So even
in order
when I
for them to see that blueprint.
All right. How about my face? In order to show my face, do I also have to share the screen?
No.
Oh,
They see your face. That's the basic operating mode of Zoom. When you start a Zoom meeting, they'll see your webcam.
So I could be on there just like I could be on there as you are right now, and I could click on my blueprint, and my blueprint would override and fill the screen.
Yeah, but they won't see it unless you share your Zoom screen first.
Oh.
So well, probably the easiest thing to do is to share your screen and then bring the blueprint up. And then once you share your screen, anything that comes up on your computer screen, they see.
Including my face. Oh no, that's already on there.
They will see your face. You see where I've got these little little windows. They'll see your face in a small window somewhere.
Okay.
But mostly it will be the shared screen.
But if I want my face to be full like you are right now, when I speak to them, how do I go about that?
You just don't share your screen.
Oh, okay.
Or if you do share your screen, once you do share your screen, you'll see a little bar that looks something like this at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
And there's a button, a red button, stands right out that says Stop Share.
Yes, sir.
And if you click that, then they'll go back to just seeing your face.
Oh.
And you can go back and forth.
So I
can share your screen and show them a blueprint, and then stop the share and just talk to them for a little while.
Oh.
And then share your screen again and go back to another blueprint and go back and forth and back and forth. You can share your screen and stop the share as often as you like.
Okay, and one last thing regarding my Zoom account. I've opened it, but I haven't used it for anything. I've been in there and opened the thing up one time. I know how to open what do you call it? I know how to open. Oh shoot, I know what I'm trying to say. Well, anyway, what I haven't done on that Zoom account is I have not checked any of those boxes. I see you from time to time going to settings and elsewhere on there. You're clicking boxes. I haven't clicked any of those boxes.
The default settings should probably do fine for you.
The default settings will still let my students in then if I don't do anything?
Yeah, but remember you have to send them the Zoom, the link to your personal meeting room. But no, you don't. No, the default settings should do fine.
So if I send them that URL link as a link to get in there and they utilize that, they'll come right in there, huh?
They'll drop right into your personal meeting room.
Okay. All right. Well, that's looks like that's all I had. Yeah, that's it for now.
But practice with it until you're comfortable.
Yes, sir.
Don't
I'm going
get in there with students until you've played around with it enough that you're confident that it's gonna, you know how it's gonna work.
And
when you're worrying about the blueprints, you don't want to have to be worrying about Zoom.
Right. And then what I notice that quite often when you're on here, as you are now, kind of, you're on the main screen, but all along the top and the right-hand side, all of our little faces are in there. Do you do something to create that, or does that just happen when I go in there?
No, that just, when I share my screen, you probably automatically see a little bar either across the top or down the right-hand side of the screen that has my image in it and maybe a few more of the other meeting attendees.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
default behavior.
All right, one last thing. I've got, in that class, I currently have 36 people enrolled because that's my cap and it's capped out. It's been capped out for weeks. Anyway, I normally let all takers come in and add. Considering what we're doing here, do you think it's wise to let the add-ons come in and get it up to like 50, which I can easily do? Am I gonna have a problem regarding Zoom with that? I mean, I know it's only gonna show.
These Zoom accounts that we have can handle up to 300 attendees at one time.
So having a whole bunch of people in there just means I'm gonna get pestered a lot more. That's all that's gonna happen, huh?
There is that.
Yeah, oh, believe me, I've been there too.
Yeah, I figure you're used to that. So yeah. But from the standpoint of Zoom, Zoom doesn't care. As long as there are fewer than 300 students, you're all right.
Well, what I noticed last semester when we went from being in class to going ahead and being online, all of a sudden my emails and stuff just started, I had a bundle every darn day.
Oh, I hear you. Email, online course, email can run your life.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned that option of creating a question and answer discussion in your Canvas course to handle some of that. So at least you don't have to answer the same question 10 or 20 times.
Okay. All right, that's all I got.
That's another discussion, but if you want to do that, I'd be happy to help you with that too.
All right, and we're going to be back on again with you on Friday morning at 10 a.m., correct?
Let me see. When's the next
Friday
one?
at 10.
That's a good question. I probably ought to know that, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Let me go to I'm bringing out my calendar here. And my next one is, let's
Friday
see, this is, what the heck? July.
No, it is, because I've got it in front of me. I've got the copy in front of me of it. It's Friday morning, and it's at 10 a.m. till noon, and you're going to be doing
right, this week. Indeed, 10 a.m. to noon, and it's intermediate Zoom.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'll be there.
Features in Zoom. So I'll see you there.
Thank you, sir. I'll see you then.
You're most welcome. I'll look forward to it.
All right, bye now.
Goodbye, and take care. And everybody's gone. All righty.